All right, good day to you, everybody. Welcome to the Family Bible Study. We're going to be doing Genesis chapter 7 and 8 today. I don't know if you remember in chapter 6, God was instructing Noah to build the ark and take two of every flesh in the ark, which included the Kenites, two of the sons of Cain, which was the son of Lucifer, or the devil. All right, we're going to get right into it. God, I pray that you open eyes, open ears this day. Chapter 7, book of Genesis, chapter 7, verse 1, and it reads, And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Verse 2, Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. Verse 3, Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed or the species alive upon the face of all the earth. Verse 4, For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. Verse 5, And Noah did according unto all the Lord commanded him. That's important to notice. Noah did according unto all the Lord commanded him. If you want God's blessings, that's what you're going to have to do. Verse 6, And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. Verse 7, And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with them, into the ark, because of the waters of the flood. Verse 8, Of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of every living thing that creepeth upon the earth. Verse 9, There went in 2 and 2 unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as God commanded Noah. Verse 10, And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. Verse 11, In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. Verse 12, And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Verse 13, In the selfsame day entered Noah, and Shem, and Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and the 3 wives of his sons with them into the ark. Verse 14, They, and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl of his kind, every bird of every sort. Verse 15, And they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. Verse 16, And they that went in, male and female of all flesh, as God commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. Verse 17, And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased, and bare up the ark, and lifted up the ark, and it was lift up above the earth. Verse 18, And the waters prevailed, and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went upon the face of the waters. Verse 19, And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. Verse 20, 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. Verse 21, And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and cattle, and of beast, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. Verse 22, All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land, died. Verse 23, And every living substance was destroyed which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark. Verse 24. And the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days. Chapter 8, verse 1. And God remembered Noah, and every living thing, and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged or subsided. Verse 2. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of heaven were stopped, and the rain from the earth and the rain from heaven was restrained. Verse 3. And the waters returned or receded from the earth continually, and after the end of the 150 days the waters were abated or decreased. Verse 4. And the ark rested in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, upon the mountains of Ararat. Verse 5. And the waters decreased continually until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, were the tops of the mountains seen. Verse 6. And it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made. Verse 7. And he sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. Verse 8. Also he sent forth a dove from him to see if the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. Verse 9. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot, and she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand, and took her, and pulled her in unto him into the ark. Verse 10. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and again he sent forth the dove out of the ark. Verse 11. And the dove came into him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off, or freshly plucked. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth, and this is because it takes about 6 months before there would be an olive branch with a leaf on it. And so that's how he knew that the waters were abated from off the earth for good, because the olive tree had time to sprout a leaf. Verse 12. And he stayed yet another 7 days, and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him any more, meaning the dove had found place for herself and to nest in the trees by that time. Verse 13. And it came to pass in the 601st year, in the 1st month, the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried up from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark, and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. Verse 14. And in the 2nd month, on the 7th and 20th day of the month, was the earth dried. Verse 15. And God spake unto Noah, saying, verse 16, Go forth of the ark, thou and thy wife, and thy sons wives with thee. Verse 17. Bring forth with thee every living thing that is with thee, of all flesh, both of fowl and of cattle, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, that they may breed abundantly in the earth, and be fruitful, and multiply upon the earth. Verse 18. And Noah went forth, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him. Verse 19. Every beast, every creeping thing, and every fowl, and whatsoever creepeth upon the earth after their kinds, or after their species, went forth out of the ark. Verse 20. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord. Notice that's the first thing that Noah did when he left the ark. And Noah builded an altar unto the Lord, and took of every clean beast and of every clean fowl, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. Today, we don't do that anymore because Jesus Christ is our altar. Verse 21. And the Lord smelled a sweet savor, or a soothing aroma. And the Lord said in his heart, I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake. For the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I again smite any more every living thing as I have done. 22. And this verse 22 debunks the theory of climate change and global warming right here. So this is what God says about it. Verse 22. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease. So there goes the idea of global warming and climate change right there. God clearly says, while the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. And whatever God says, that's the way it's going to be. Okay, guys, don't miss the next lecture. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.